everybody. Welcome. We are at RevvED Up, and I am Deanna Munoz. I am the Civic Engagement Fellow for Latinx Education Collaborative, and I'm also the founder of Latino Arts Foundation. And I am so honored to be here today because I am going to be talking with someone who's absolutely phenomenal, Miss Melanie Arroyo. I just absolutely love you, and I have just the privilege of being here for this short time to be able to intro you and to share all the amazing work you do. And personally, you have been such a big influence for us and our family. So I'd love for you to intro yourself right now.
Yes, oh my God, no, thank you so much for inviting me for a chat. And it's always so good to see you, Diana. I also very much look up to you. So again, my name is Melanie Arroyo Perez, and I'm a bilingual art therapist and licensed professional counselor. And I have a private practice in Olathe, where I work primarily with the Hispanic community and Hispanic families in both English and Spanish. I absolutely love what I do, and I get to, work with them on any issues that they may have with trauma or depression. We also touch on subjects about intergenerational trauma, which has been very present in Hispanic and immigrant communities. Really like the conversation, so I really enjoy that. And then sometimes, as I mentioned, I'm an art therapist, so we get to bring out art supplies to process those situations and work with their treatment on, again, depression and anxiety and so on with the art process.
Melanie, I'd love to ask you, I know there's a lot of, we work with students and youth. How did you get into this practice, and what drove you to do this type of work?
Oh, yeah, no, honestly, I've known that I wanted to be an art therapist since I was 16 years old. Which is wild, but I know that back then when I was in high school, I don't know, I guess as a Latina, and I was undocumented at the time, I'll be honest, and I didn't really see much of a future for myself, but those were different times. It was like back in 2008 or something like that, but somewhere along the way, I qualified for National Honor Society. And to me, that was a surprise, and it felt very validating. It just felt like, wow, like my efforts in school are being noticed. And once I joined the National Honor Society, I started doing volunteering hours, which to me, that was actually a very new concept. I didn't know why I would do work for free. It was kind of weird, Yeah, I'm like, why do people do work for free? I don't get it. But then I started doing volunteering myself, and I'm like, oh, I get it. You get to work with the community, you get to work with people, and everybody gets together to meet a common goal. And that just gave me a lot of a sense of purpose and a sense of drive. After a while, I actually stopped counting my volunteering hours because I just really enjoyed what I was doing. So then at the same time in high school, I was also very interested in art. I took all the art classes I could take. I was at Sean Mission North. And then I started, I was on my path to taking AP art. And so I knew that I had a passion for art and drawing. And I also had a passion for working with people. And I went in and met with a school counselor, and I told her, hey, I don't know what I want to do with my future. But all of a sudden, I felt like I had a future ahead of me. And I told her, I really like working with the community. I love making art, but I don't see myself being an artist full time. Like, I don't know how to bring these two together. And the school counselor that I was talking to, she had been to Emporia State University. And she told me, hey, there's this profession called art therapy. And I just thought, what? Is that real? And she's like, yeah, it's real. It's a very real profession. And see, this is why educators are so important in our communities, because she took the time out of her weekend to take me to Emporia State for an open house for art therapy. And I got to learn more about what art therapy was all about, and I got some hands-on experiences with it. And from that moment, it was just, okay, this is what I want to do. And and here I am living the dream.
And I absolutely want you to share that. It's just, like I said, so important because like you find those people and they become mentors. And so absolutely love that. So that really ties into you being a speaker here for the Padres Empoderados. And your topic is going to be about family mental health. Tell us the importance of mental health as a family unit.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So, in my work with Hispanic families, when I first started working as a therapist, I would take on working with children here and there. And it just started to make sense to me that the child wasn't the problem. But a lot of parents would come in here and be like, here, take my kid, fix them. I don't know what to do with them. And I'm like, there's no fixing here. This is not like an auto shop or something, like this is therapy. And the more I talked with the children and got to know them, I would realize that some of their misbehavior or some of their emotional issues were stemmed from some mental health issues that were happening in the family as a whole that were being unaddressed. And so it just became clear to me the parents really are the pillars of the mental health in the household. And so if these pillars are dilapidating, then you can only imagine what's happening to these children at the same time. So then that's when I start to realize when it comes to doing therapy with children, it's the child is never the client. You know what I mean? It's the family unit. The family unit is the client.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely love that how you said that because that really brought it out for me too. Because you can't fix one without fixing the others, and it's so important. Do you do family therapy then as well, or is it only with the youth?
Yeah, no. So I primarily work now with adults, young adults, people who are making those life transitions. But occasionally, I do get children who come in here, and so then once they come in here, I let the parents know, hey, this is my view on how to best support your child. You're going to have to be a part of these therapy sessions. And sometimes it takes parents by surprise. Like they're like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. What do you mean? But then the more I get to know them and I reflect back to them, hey, this is what I'm seeing. They're like, oh, okay, maybe I do have something to do with my child's mental health. And that's when we engage the whole family.
Absolutely. I love that so much. Yes, because it's a family unit. Tell us a little bit more about, especially for, the various Latino families in Kansas City and beyond, like why this topic is so important, why they should, listen in on this speaker moment with you. Like, can you just tell us a little bit more about the importance of this topic?
Yes, yeah, no. So it's super important because I'm sure that it's not just me. Everybody else has noticed that after the pandemic, the mental health of our children has declined severely. So they have been impacted in one way or another. And parents are at a point where they're having to set their stigma on mental health aside and say, okay, you know what? Maybe I need to take my child to therapy. So if you're a parent listening to this conversation right now and you've kind of grown up in a household where la terapia es para los locos and you didn't believe that therapy was for your family, but you're kind of now considering maybe giving it a try, man, this conversation is for you. Like, I just want you to open up to the possibility that coming to therapy is not me pointing a finger at you or anyone else. Like, I also take into consideration, again, the intergenerational trauma. So the issues that your parents went through and their parents and the immigration stories and all these compounding factors that they met with the pandemic and all these traumatic experiences have caught up to us. And we just need to accept that we need help. But I also understand that in Hispanic households, especially the moms, it's a little uncomfortable to reach out for help.
Yes.
But I'm just here to let you all know that asking for help is the most powerful and courageous thing that you can do in this environment. So again, if you find yourself in a place where you're struggling to get some things through your child, understanding them, communication. Maybe now is the time to come to therapy and make some changes.
I love that statement. Just reaching out and just knowing, and that's powerful. I love that. That brings a lot, like, to you. Like, you don't think of it that way, right? You kind of sometimes think that you might be asking too much, or, you know, this is not something you should be asking for. And I love that statement that you just said.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and there is always also that self-consciousness of el que dirán, like what people are gonna say or what they're gonna think. Like, what do you mean your child is going to therapy? Like, what? Like, there is always gonna be that discomfort. But the benefit of bringing the whole family to therapy is that everything that happens here stays here. It is not my personal chisme to like go around and tell anybody. Like, this is, again, it's strictly professional. The things that are shared here stay here. Whereas if you try to take your children to, I don't know, like una de las tías, you know, yeah, it's probably also going to talk around, right? So like that's another advantage of coming to therapy. Like, your privacy is guaranteed.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. That's amazing. That's a great point.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about the event a little bit. So, Padres Empoderados, you are going to be a speaker. What can the guests expect from your amazing portion of it?
Yes, so without giving too much away, I think the main takeaway is that I want parents to learn that even though we have been raised in immigrant households, or like even in our countries, right, we've been raised to discipline our children through corporal punishment. It doesn't mean we have to keep doing this. Now we're at a time when we have plenty of resources, we have education, we have, again, therapists, we have members in the community who have a vast wealth of knowledge on better ways to raise our children. And so that's something that I want to propose to parents, is that instead of yelling at our children or calling them names or intimidating them to ask for the sake of respect, we can use an alternative way of communicating with them and raising them while still obtaining that respect from them. But not just respect, but also trust. When we raise our children with that level of intimidation, the moment that they need us, they're not going to come to us because they're going to be intimidated. So then the goal is to do that. And we achieve this through empathy. And also, we need to change the way that we view our role as parents. So we kind of grew up with this notion that a parent is like a child's best friend, which is not. Or we grow up with this notion that a parent is like a police officer, like a cop, you know, you go around policing your child's behavior. And instead of that, I'm going to propose a whole different identity for people as parents, where they're actually going to coach their children through to navigate their emotions. I mean, think about it, Diana, like you and I, we are very grown adults and we still struggle to communicate our emotions sometimes, or to communicate what we're struggling with. Can you imagine having been born like just 5 years ago and having to like express, oh, you know what, Mom, I feel very abandoned and sad and disappointed because my little friend moved away. I just don't know what to do with myself. Children don't talk like that. They don't have that vocabulary, right? So then our role as parents is to help them learn that vocabulary, to tune into their internal experiences, to their emotions, to find a name to those experiences. So we're going to talk about empathy, how to expand your emotional vocabulary. Because again, if I tell you, hey, Diana, I feel bad. It's like, what does that even mean to you? Bad to you could mean several things. Yes. But if I tell you, hey, I feel inferior or insufficient, or I feel left out, that's a little bit more specific. You can actually work with that. So we're going to talk about how to expand that vocabulary, and again, how to change our role in the discipline of our children.
I am one to say I've worked with this with Melanie, and absolutely hope that the takeaway is as strong as it has been for us. You are amazing, Melanie, and the work you do is phenomenal. You are such a volunteer, an advocate. You're somebody that I know I can trust, and the love you have for our youth is just, it's beyond phenomenal. So we appreciate everything you do. Is there any way that parents can maybe get a hold of you now in case they've seen this and they're like, I just want a personal one-on-one to talk a little bit more?
Oh my God, yes, absolutely. Yes, if people want to go ahead and send me a text message or call me, my work phone number is 913-293-4750. Again, it's 913-293-4750. And again, you can either call or text me. If you are a parent living on the Kansas side and your child has Medicaid, I do take Kansas Medicaid. If you feel like you're not in a position to pay for therapy services, no worries, I got you. If you live on the Missouri side and you need a therapist for your child, don't hesitate to contact me. I may not be the right fit for your child based on distance or Medicaid or whatever it might be, but I still want to help you find someone to support your children. It's very important that we do an early intervention now that our children are where they are, instead of waiting until they're adults and they're having to, undo years and years of trauma or difficulties. So yes, people are more than welcome to reach out to me.
Wonderful. We're going to add that to the comments, and that way, if anyone just sees us later, they can have that info. And I know that we have your info, Melanie. So we also, if you want to get a hold of Latinx Education Collaborative or RevvED, we can definitely share Melanie's info there with you as well. Melanie, before we let you go, is there anything else you'd love to tell our audience?
Yes, yeah, no, just to keep an open mind. It's okay to, again, have moments when you're like, again, kind of leery or suspicious of therapy services or mental health. Again, like, let's acknowledge that the profession of therapy and psychology did originally start to oppress minorities. It did start as a way to put a label of craziness on Black and Brown people, on women, on people who are LGBT. So it just makes a lot of sense why, after all these generations, there is this general distrust towards the field. But, it was a couple of years ago that the American Psychological Association, they released a public apology to minorities because they acknowledged that history. And we are aware of these issues from the past, and the profession is working to enhance the services and the support for diverse communities. And honestly, therapy is not what it was 50 years ago, 10 years ago even. Therapy really has come a long way, and there are a lot of different interventions out there. But take your time. This is not me pressuring anyone to go sign up right now. Ultimately, if you want there to be change, it has to be at your pace and no one else's, not even your own therapist. So, yeah. And again, just if people have more questions and they just want to talk more about this, they're more than welcome to reach out. También hablo español fluido. So, yeah, don't hesitate to also send Spanish-speaking clients my way.
This is absolutely beautiful. I'm so glad that you're opening yourself before the event, but please, everyone, take advantage of this amazing opportunity to speak with Melanie and be a part of this interactive discussion, because it's so important for our youth, our older generations, all of us as a family unit. So thank you again, Melanie, for taking your time out of your day to speak with us and kind of give this intro and this amazing excitement for what's to come. So again, we have information for her, or if not, please send a text message. And like she said, everything, Spanish, English, either way is fine. Thank you again,
Yes.
Melanie.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to doing the presentation with Padres Empoderados.
Yes. Have a great day, everybody.